The first time they told me to shut it down, I honestly thought it was a joke. I was standing inside my barn, the smell of fresh apples filling the air, the press running steady, when a man in a clean polo with an HOA badge walked in like he had somewhere important to be. He didn't greet me, didn't ask a single question, just looked around and said in a flat voice, "You need to shut this operation down immediately." For a second I just stared at him, waiting for the punchline, but there wasn't one. He was serious, and right there, I knew this wasn't going to be a normal day. If you've ever had someone try to control something that is clearly not theirs, you already know how this feels. Before we go any further, make sure you hit like and subscribe to Karen's Stories Daily, because stories like this only get crazier as they go, and trust me, this one doesn't end the way they expected. This land has been in my family longer than that entire neighborhood has existed. My grandfather planted the first apple trees here when this area was still mostly open farmland. My father kept it going, not as a big business, just enough to keep the land alive and productive. When I came back years later, I had a choice. I could sell it, cash out like a lot of people were doing, or I could build something real from it. I chose to stay. I invested everything I had into turning that orchard into a working cider operation. It wasn't easy. There were permits, inspections, regulations, paperwork that never seemed to end, but I followed every step carefully. I wasn't cutting corners. I wanted it done right. At first, it was small. I sold cider from a stand near the road. People would stop by, try it, come back the next week. Then local shops started calling. Small grocery stores, family-owned markets, even a few cafes. They liked the quality, the consistency, the fact that it was local. Over time, it grew into something bigger than I expected. I wasn't just pressing apples anymore. I was supplying stores across the entire zip code. Every batch labeled, tracked, inspected, everything legal, everything documented. Then the HOA showed up. They built that neighborhood fast. One year it was empty land. The next it was rows of houses, trim lawns, and a board of people who suddenly believed they had authority over anything within sight. At first, we stayed separate. They handled their neighborhood. I handled my farm. No issues, no interaction. That didn't last. The complaints started small. Noise concerns, traffic complaints. Someone claimed the smell of apples was too strong during processing days. I ignored it because none of it applied to me. I was outside their jurisdiction. County-approved agricultural operation. Completely legal. But they didn't stop. The man with the clipboard came next. He walked through my property like he was inspecting violations, taking pictures, writing notes. When I asked him what he was doing, he said something that stuck with me. He said this operation does not align with community standards. I remember thinking, what community? This is my land. This operation was here before their sidewalks were even poured. I told him clearly, you don't have authority here. He didn't argue. He just nodded like he knew something. I did in single quotes. 2 days later, the letter arrived. It was official looking, printed, stamped, full of complicated wording, but the message was simple. Shut down immediately. According to them, my cider press operation was causing disturbances and violating community expectations. No actual law cited that applied, just pressure wrapped in formal language. I didn't react right away. I read it twice, then called the county office. I asked one question. Can an HOA shut down a licensed agricultural operation outside its boundary? The answer was no. That should have been the end of it. But instead, that's when things escalated. They started contacting the stores I supplied, not directly accusing me of anything illegal, just raising concerns, asking questions, planting doubt. It was subtle, but effective if left unchecked. One store owner called me and said someone had asked if my operation was being shut down. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules anymore. This was about trying to pressure me into stopping by cutting off my business. That was their biggest mistake, because they had no idea how connected my operation actually was. One didn't supply just a few places. I supplied most of the local market. Grocery stores, organic shops, cafes, weekly deliveries, contracts, relationships built over time. So instead of reacting emotionally, I did something simple. I invited a few of the store owners to come see everything themselves. No speeches, no defense, just transparency. They came out that weekend, walked through the orchard, saw the press running, watched how everything was handled. Clean equipment, proper storage, labeled batches, documented processes, nothing hidden. One of them even said this was more organized than some of the bigger suppliers they deal with. That mattered, because now they weren't just hearing rumors, they had seen the reality. Later that same day, something unexpected happened. A black SUV pulled into the driveway, not HOA County. A man stepped out, calm, observant, carrying himself like someone who didn't need to prove anything. He introduced himself as part of the zoning board, not just a member. The chairman. He said he had received a complaint and wanted to take a look. I didn't rush. I just showed him everything. Permits, licenses, inspection records, production logs. He walked through the entire setup, asked a few direct questions, checked details carefully. No assumptions, no attitude. After a while he paused, looked at one of the cider crates and smiled slightly. He said, "I buy this every week." That caught me off guard. He explained his family had been buying my cider from a local store and had no idea it came from this farm. Then he looked back at the documents, then at the operation, and said clearly, "Everything here is compliant, just like that. No confusion. No gray area." That one statement shut down everything the HOA was trying to build. But it didn't stop there, because once the county was involved, the situation shifted. The HOA received formal notice to stop interfering with operations outside their jurisdiction. Not a suggestion, not a warning, a direct order. After that, the silence was immediate. No more letters. No more visits, no more complaints. A few weeks later, I saw one of the HOA residents at my stand. He picked up a couple of bottles, looked at me, and said he didn't realize this was the same place everyone was talking about. I just nodded. No need to explain anything, because at the end of the day, the truth speaks for itself when everything is done right. This was never about a cider press. It was about someone trying to control something they didn't understand. And when they finally faced the reality, they backed off. If you've ever dealt with something like this, drop a comment and share your experience. And if you think they went too far, share this with someone who would understand exactly how this feels.